Hello, this is Gene. I got to do this again because it didn't upload. So I don't think one person actually saw this. So I'll go through what I had to say before. Um, I won't do it for 25 minutes this time, I don't think. That's just funny that you talk all that long and you don't, whatever. Um, I'm talking about Devin Tracy. Yesterday he did a video where he talked about being compared to Nazis, how now Israel is being compared to Nazis, and he wanted to take down TYT again, all that stuff. And before I get started, I'm a big fan, supporter of Devin Tracy. But over the years, he's had a couple blind spots that I've called him out on. He's actually responded to me after I sent him videos about it. Once about Hillary and the email scandal, and also when I said that I was on his side when it came to free speech when they started to threaten to take down his channel. But unfortunately, this video that I'm going to talk about, that I think that he got really too butt hurted by a couple people in the comments, got taken down for hate speech. Now, personally, I don't think anything he said in the video is considered, to me, I would consider hate speech. I think that his viewpoint about the Holocaust and the 6 million is just wrong. And I pretty much said that in my response to him online. I started off saying first, it was Hillary and the email scandal. And second, his myopic view about guns. In which I wish I would love to have a debate about guns with him when it comes to that. And now he had to bring up the 6 million. Now, a figure which has already been disproven at least in half, because 2.5 million people in Auschwitz did not happen. It was at the end of the war, well, actually years ago, a couple of years after the war, they said 4 million Jews died there. But now it's been down to 1.5 million. So we know it's under 3 because you have to look at the other camps as well. And I basically said this in my rebuttal, that the idea that Germany or the Nazis had a systematic plan to gas and then subsequently burn 6 million Jews is just nonsense. And unfortunately, that little story has infected the West, and to a lesser, well, not say lesser, about the same extent when it comes to the United States. And I said, unfortunately, the people that you like are behind it. Now, I look at Devin in a lot of ways. He's a little bit younger than me. We have a very similar, I guess, ideology in a lot of ways. We're both, I think, classical liberals. There is no real liberal anymore. The left is not, and I would think that Devin probably would agree with me, see that the left that we look at right now isn't really the liberal that we grew up on. He went to a elite university, 2 of them, one of the greatest public universities in the country, both of them, at Berkeley and Brentwood, UCLA. I believe his degree was in history, but his retort, there was a guy before me that wrote almost like 2 pages of stuff, and whether I don't necessarily agree with everything what this said, because Devin is a very emotional man, even though he's a much older, nearly 40 now, I think, and most of the times he can take logic and rationality and he can actually be smart at what he's going to say. But there have been several times that he has been very emotional about things, and we all get that point. But he is very emotional in a lot of places. And he basically told this guy that I'm done and crazy, come to LA, and basically I'm going to curb stomp you. He did this years ago. He said this to everybody. You know, and it's like his hero is the guy from American X, which is kind of weird because that was a neo-Nazi. But anyway, I thought that my response was more rational and logical. I gave him a little grief for saying what he had to say, and I had no problem with him coming back with that. But his first thing was, I'm a gun-toting Trump supporter. I don't know what else, but at the end he said I should just shut the fuck up. And I find that very strange. And again, I don't expect he remembers me. 2 or 3 years ago, or almost 3 years ago now, I've sent a video to him, tried to explain the email thing when it comes to Hillary. And he responded, and he actually watched it, and then he responded back very respectful, because in his response he said that I was very respectful to him, and he was respectful in his response. But he still, at the end of the day, he excused him, saying he didn't think that Hillary was trying anything that would actually destroy the country. Now, this is before we knew that Sanders had his basically taken the nomination from him. Now, again, I don't necessarily think that he would have got the nomination over Hillary, but there was a way to make sure that we knew that Hillary was going to be the nominee. And again, the DNC can pretty much do whatever they want to do to force that narrative. They can do it. I have no issue with that. But to say that she could not have done that without knowing that it was against the law, which it clearly is. And I thought in my video, Jim, I was very, I was calm and collective, and I was very factual basis. And it didn't matter to him. Okay, we agreed to disagree. Of course, after they lost, I didn't really say anything about it. I didn't go online and say you're stupid because that you've. But I said what I had to say in my response. I said, you believe Hillary. And now you said things about guns. And I said, I'm not going to get on here about the Second Amendment. It's a very important thing, and it should be defended. I said, and now you say things about the 6 million. And sometimes with Devin, it seems like I'm the older guy here. He's a little bit younger than me. I think about 10 years younger than me, or maybe more than that. It's unfortunate. Just 2 or 3 days ago, he did a great video about the World Cup coming up, and I put something in. I said I would love to be there. He's coming to. He's going to be, I think, in Argentina during the semifinals, and that's going to be a fucking great thing if they're in the semifinals. It's going to be a great thing, a cultural thing to see it. As much as I support whatever the alt-right is, or the fact that the native people, Europe and the United States, should defend, and I have no issue if I would want to go and see this in Argentina if they're in the semifinals. I would like to see that. I wouldn't like to see that they lost. I think that I might get killed, but it would be an interesting thing to see. And I said I would love to have a beer with him and talk about sports. I mean, this guy played soccer in high school. I did as well. We both, as Americans, we know a little bit more about the European game. I think I'm a little bit more known about it than he is, but he knows enough that we could have a nice conversation. And politics would never have to come into it. We could talk about that. We can talk about who is better, Ronaldo or Messi or whatever. Lewandowski, how great, what type of hair products that Fellaini puts in his hair, stuff like that. And we have a good time. But there are a lot of places, other things that we agree with, 100% with each other. We're liberals. We're classical liberals that grew up in a country that believes something like the JFK, RFK side of the liberal thing, that they believe in immigration control, that they believe that you just don't walk in this country and get things for free, that there was responsibility to everybody in the country to help everybody else. Now, the left isn't like that anymore, and I don't think that Devin would say that he's part of the left anymore. He goes online and takes these little things and says, I'm still liberal, guys, so of course I'm going to vote for Hillary because this little test that was created by liberal people in universities, that the ones I went into, that it should mean that I'm liberal. I have the same things when I do it as well. It says I'm center left or whatever. But anyway, but he started saying this, and he didn't really go deep into the Holocaust, but he said the same shit, that the Nazis are different because they killed 6 million Jews. And I'm like, again, I think that his degree was history, and he went to Berkeley and UCLA. I don't know. I think his degree is actually from UCLA. Clearly in the 90s, there were more conservative professors back then, but still it was a leftist university. I doubt that he had any different viewpoints on history when it came to the Holocaust. People know this, that if you're the victors, you say whatever propaganda that you have. We know that the communists came in there into Poland. They said that all these shits happened, and then they made it look like it was a lot worse than it was. They said that this because they were getting ready to burn all these people when they were just guys who died from typhus. And then the Allies came in and saw it, and they had to just make it worse and worse and worse so they could get more when the actual settlement came at the end. Nobody here is going to say that that Hitler is not responsible for the people who died in the camps. He is. All I'm saying to you is there is no proof that there was a systematic decision to gas and then burn them, and that out of that was 6 million of those were Jewish. It makes no sense. The architecture that they did doesn't make any sense. These guys were great engineers, very smart people that did the camps. I don't know, maybe the people that did the camps were not Jewish or not German. Clearly they must have not been. It's just lunacy to think that this happened. And this thing has been held over the Europeans and by us as well for the last 70 years, and it has destroyed the West. And unfortunately, and I said this in my response to him, that he is supporting the people that were behind this. Maybe not people today, but clearly people back then that said this. Now, he knows this, that in the 70s, this is when all of a sudden this came out. There was no war movies in the 60s and 70s that said anything about the Holocaust. All of a sudden it came out. It's like something came along. Is there a way we can make money out of this? That we can just guilt the man, the European man, because we don't want the white man to get a populist upbringing anymore? That there was a reason why we did this? And we just fell for this. And the thing is, it continually goes on. Most movies that are I think if you look at all the movies that are being produced every year, there's at least 10 to 100 that either directly or indirectly are related to the Holocaust. It's crazy how much it is. Now, clearly, Hollywood is run by Jewish people. Whether that's good or bad, that they run the porno industry as well. Whether that's good or bad, these are things that Hitler did not like. He didn't like what Berlin was like a modern-day Babylon, and he wanted to stop that from happening because he was a traditional type of guy, and he wanted the folk to be the same. And whether you liked it or not, that we all breed in with our own people, if you think that's whatever it is, this is what Hitler believed, and really biologically says that that's we should do this anyway. But again, whatever. I'm just saying this is what Hitler believed. And he didn't like the Jewish people, but he didn't like people that were in charge of the banks that were killing native-born German people, that they had to pay all these huge amounts of interest to these people, and then they'd lose their land and stuff. And then he stopped all that and allowed them to borrow money from the government in a 0% interest. And the economy went crazy, and this man was lauded from shore to shore around the world about being the greatest leader at that time. It doesn't mean that what he did by doing this is a bad thing or a good thing. It's not. And he's responsible because they died in the camps. But we can't just look in history and just say for this one area. There is reasons why we got where we got. And history is nuanced to a point. And I'm not going to trust that he went to a California State University that says this is what it is, 100% what they believe. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. Clearly, the furnaces were there to burn the clothes that came in because the people were on trains, packed in together, diseases and stuff. It was all horrible they did this shit, and they should never done this shit, but they did it, and people died on the trains. They died in the camps. Some people got killed because they didn't listen to what they had to say. They put people down because they couldn't work. This is all bad and all that. They should have all went and died. They should have hanged, whatever. Whatever. It's true. That's what happened. But it isn't this. There is levels of this. It's like I'm a Muslim and I'm going to blow up somebody, or I'm a Muslim and I practice the Muslim and I look at the Quran, but I also understand a lot of it's bullshit. Or I'm just a Muslim because everybody in my country is a Muslim, so I consider myself a Muslim, but I don't really look at the Quran. There is levels of this. But the impact that it's had in the West has been devastating. And for just people just willy-nilly to say that, well, 6 million and the Nazis and all this stuff without looking at it more and more. Now, that wasn't really the part of his video, and it's very bad that his video got taken down on hate speech. I think it's craziness that it did this, and I defended him years ago about this. So basically, at the end of the day, I feel like I'm the older brother here, that I have to bring him back over the edge. But I don't think you can. He's a very stubborn, emotional young man. He's not a young man anymore. But he's an emotional man. Just the way he threatens people, like he's going to do anything. I was like, Years ago, when I sent that thing on emails to him, I said, at the end of the video, I said, I'm here in Orlando. I said, I'm ready. You're going to curb sponsor me because you don't like what I have to say about Hillary. I would say that today. If I'm in Melbourne at any time and I happen to see him, I'll have a conversation with him. I'm not going to, it's just stupid. And a lot of it is just sarcasm on his stuff. And, he talks about how big his dick is all the time. So I think he's got issues with that as well. But overall, I do like the guy. I do. I wish that I could have a real conversation with him. I would love for him to come on to Millennial Rose channel during his Millennial Rose thing, or Millennial, whatever that is. And maybe I could talk to him as well. I'm not going to change his mind. He's a grown man. But my viewpoint changed a lot in the last 6 or 7 years. And I think his has as well. But I think he's died down to certain things that he won't get himself out of. He's a very stubborn man, as I said. But anyway, that's all I had to say. I started this video saying atheism is stoppable. I'm not really talking about his channel or the idea that atheism is this or that. I think that he can't prove to me that there's not a higher power, and I can't prove to him that there is. So, unstoppable, whatever. I think that the fact that if atheism, the idea of atheism happens, there's no spiritual place in our people, that it's also a very bad thing that can happen. I don't think it's a good thing for us. And we've already lost a lot of the soul of the Western man. And I think if we lose that as well, it's not a good thing. So that's basically all I have to say. Please share this and like it. Tell me what else you like, what I'd like to talk about. Just let me know. And you guys, thank you for watching. Hopefully this one will go through. And you guys have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.